Have you ever been to a conference or a retreat and wished you had something to customize your name tag just a little bit? Well, today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a simple lanyard strap that you can attach to any name tag. We use these in a variety of places so that it just gives that handmade personal touch to whatever you're doing. This tutorial is just for the strap because name tags come in all different sizes, and this is something you can easily pack in your bag, take along with you, and then swap out that generic strap that came with your name tag. All you need is a scrap of fabric, and then we're using a swivel clip, which I've linked in the description below this video, so you can stock up on those as well. This is a great addition to any event you're attending, or if you're hosting an event, you can make these for the attendees. It's just a really fun way to make something as boring as a name tag unique. So let's head over to the cutting table and get started. I'm just making just the lanyard part, so I'm going to reuse this plastic tag from the Crafty Monkeys quilt retreat. And then the other supplies I have are this 1/2-inch lobster clasp, and I am linking this below the video so that you can pick these up for yourself. So I like to use these little 1/2-inch ones. And then I'm also using a Clover 25 bias tape maker, and then my fabric, ruler, and rotary cutter. And then of course we have our iron and our ironing board. We're going to start with our fabric. I picked one of my old favorites, and I am just going to cut a 1 7/8 inch strip of fabric. So that's the size that this size 25 bias tape maker packaging says to cut 1 7/8, and then you're going to get a 1/2-inch piece of double fold bias tape. But I'm actually not cutting this on the bias. So when I'm saying bias tape, I just mean folded like bias tape, but it's actually not bias. So I'm going to measure 1 7/8, and I'm just going to cut this off of the bolt. Let's cut this at 1 7/8. And then I'll set my fabric aside and my rotary cutter and ruler as well. We'll bring the bias tape maker and the iron in. And then this ironing board also is solid and it has wood on the bottom, so it's safe to put on my cutting mat. This is just a quick reminder that you cannot set your hot iron, even on this little silicone thing, on your cutting mat. So I'm putting that to the side away from my cutting mat. And first I'm just going to iron this a little bit, just so it will feed through the bias tape maker easily. And then we'll just slip one side into the bias tape maker. And then what I do is I have this, that purple thing, and I'm just gonna push it through this little hole, using it gently, just push the fabric until I can start pulling it out of the bias tape maker. Okay, grab my iron again, and let me turn my ironing board this way. That will work better. So I'm gonna grab my iron, and I'm just gonna gently pull this bias tape maker through and just keep moving my fabric along. You can see I have a little bit of rough edges here, but since this is just going to go inside the lanyard, I'm just going to pull those threads and let them just go inside. And I'm using the entire width of fabric piece, but we are going to trim it down to the lanyard length. Unless you want it to be very long, you could use the entire width of fabric. Another option is you can sew several pieces of fabric together to make this kind of a scrappy lanyard. So that's a really fun way to use up your scraps and make something unique. So you would just want to sew these 1 7/8 inch pieces together lengthwise until you have the length you desire. I'll just tell you now, we're going to trim ours to 35 inches, which is the length that some pre-made lanyards already came. So that's how I determined that length, but you can obviously adjust this for yourself however you'd like. Now, when I am making this portion of the lanyard, my favorite thing to use is my quilter's clapper. So I'll iron part of it and then just let the quilter's clapper rest while it cools for a second. And I'm just going to do that for the whole length of this. So hang on just a second and I'll keep ironing and we can speed through this video. All right, so now we have our whole piece of bias tape ironed, and I'm just going to go to my sewing machine and I'm just going to sew along each edge of the bias tape until I have one continuous piece sewn on both long edges, and then I'll come back and we'll take a look. All right, so here we have our piece of lanyard all sewn. You can see my stitching on both long edges, and then I'm just gonna trim off one end and then measure and cut to 35 inches. So that's right here. All right, now we'll take our 1/2 inch swivel hook and slide it on. And then what I'm going to do is head back to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew this portion together on the end. So I'll come back and show you that, and then I'll show you what we're going to do to finish it so that the raw edge is hidden inside. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so now we have this sewn, and what I'm going to do is move my swivel clip all the way to the end. I'm going to have to twist this so that the clip is outside, right? And then these two raw edges are inside. And I'm just going to fold it like so. So you can see, here's my raw edges. Here's my swivel clip. I'm going to fold it and point those two raw edges down. Then what I'm going to do is take it over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew right here along this line. That will keep these edges pointed down towards the clip. It'll hold your clip in place, and then your lanyard will be complete. So let me just go sew that, and then I'll come back and show you the finished lanyard. All right, and there you have your finished lanyard, and you can just clip this on to your name tag, and you're all ready to go. This is a quick, easy project that's fun to make, fun to use for all sorts of events. I made these for speaking at a retreat. You can use them for a lot of different purposes, but it's just a really great way to make something like a name tag feel a lot more special. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will have more content coming your way. Thanks for watching.